If you're over 60, that strange numbness or sudden dizziness might be the silent warning that a stroke is coming. Most men think strokes only strike with dramatic symptoms like slurred speech or collapse. But the truth is, they often begin with quiet warnings your body gives days or even weeks before. As a stroke specialist, I've seen too many men ignore those whispers, brushing off the early signs until it's too late. That's why today I'm begging you, don't wait for the big collapse. Because your brain may already be sending out quiet warnings. And if you can spot them now, you just might stop the stroke before it ever happens. The next few minutes, I'll walk you through 6 silent signs your brain could be in danger. They're subtle, they vanish fast, and they could save your life. Before we dive in, take a second to tap like if you want more health insights like this, and hit subscribe if you're over 60 and want to protect your future. Now let's begin. Here's the first silent sign your brain may be in trouble. Silent stroke sign number 1, brief numbness or weakness. I've seen this exact moment play out far too many times in my clinic. Men in their late 60s or 70s who brushed off a strange numbness in their arm or a sudden heaviness in their leg. And just a few weeks later, they're in the ER facing a full-blown stroke. Here's what most people don't realize. Brief numbness or weakness, even if it lasts only seconds, can be the first warning that a clot is forming or that a blood vessel in your brain is silently narrowing. It can affect your hand, your arm, your face, or one side of your body. And because it disappears so quickly, it's easy to ignore. You might think you just slept wrong or sat too long. But here's the difference. Normal numbness fades slowly. Stroke-related numbness? It hits fast and vanishes just as quickly. That sudden onset is your clue. Think of it like a flicker in your home's power system, a warning light before the blackout. Let me tell you about Mr. Leonard. He's 73. He came into my office and said, "Doc, my hand sort of zapped out twice this month while I was brushing my teeth." There was no pain, just a weird split-second moment where his hand didn't cooperate. He almost canceled the appointment. He thought it was too minor to bring up, but we ran an ultrasound on his carotid arteries and found a serious blockage on one side. He was days away from a major stroke. Because he listened to that whisper from his body, we caught it in time. We cleared the blockage. And today he still plays piano with his grandkids. But if he had waited just a little longer, he might have lost the use of his right hand forever. So here's what I want you to remember. If you ever feel sudden weakness, tingling, or numbness, especially on one side of your body, in your face, your arm, or your leg, write it down. Record the time it started, the part of your body it affected, and how long it lasted. Then call your doctor immediately, not tomorrow. Today. This isn't about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. Because strokes don't always explode into your life. Sometimes they whisper and hope you're not paying attention. Here's a quick tip from me, Doctor James. If you're not sure whether a numb spell was serious, try this simple self-check. Stand in front of a mirror and do these 3 things. Smile and check if both sides rise evenly. Raise both arms and see if they stay level. Speak a full sentence and listen for any slurring or strange speech. If one side of your mouth droops, if one arm drifts down, or your words sound off, call emergency services immediately. Don't wait, because here's the truth. Your brain cells don't get a second chance. Even just a few seconds of unexplained weakness could be the difference between a full recovery and a lifetime of disability. Catching a transient ischemic attack or mini stroke gives your doctor a critical window, a chance to prevent something far worse. And as I always tell my patients, prevention is always better than recovery. Coming up next, we'll look at another silent sign most men overlook. A flicker in your vision that lasts just a moment, but could mean a mini stroke is already underway. Silent stroke. Sign number 2, sudden vision changes or blurred sight. Most people don't know this. Your eyes are brain tissue. Not just connected, they are part of your central nervous system. So when a stroke begins, your vision is often the first place it shows up. I've seen this over and over in my practice. Men in their 60s and 70s who seemed healthy. No blood pressure meds, no obvious risk factors. And yet, they'd notice flashes of light, moments of double vision, depth perception suddenly off, like the floor wasn't where it should be, or even total loss of sight in one eye for just a few seconds. They brushed it off, but by the time they got to me, a silent stroke had already left its mark, a mark they couldn't see until it was too late. Let me tell you about Paul, 68 years old, retired mechanic, sharp mind, steady hands, still liked working on old engines. One morning while driving to the auto shop, the road suddenly looked crooked, slanted to the left. He blinked, shook his head, it cleared. He thought, maybe I skipped breakfast, and he kept driving. 1 week later, he collapsed beside his garage. The CT scan showed he had suffered a retinal artery occlusion, basically a stroke in the eye. Worse, it was just the preview. A larger, more damaging stroke hit his brain the next day. If he'd acted on that one brief moment of distorted vision, he might have walked into the hospital instead of being wheeled in. So here's what I want you to watch for. sudden vision loss in one or both eyes, flashes of light, blurry, double, or tunnel vision, dark spots that appear and vanish, and trouble focusing on simple tasks. Even if it passes in seconds, it matters. Because in stroke medicine, we have a saying, time lost is brain lost. The earlier we act, the more brain tissue we save. And that can mean the difference between full recovery and lifelong disability. What to do immediately? Stop what you're doing, do not drive, and call for help. And if your vision changes come with a headache, a confusion, or slurred speech, treat it as a 911 emergency. If this sounds scary, good, it means you're paying attention. And that could save your life or someone you love. Hit like if you learned something new today. Subscribe for more practical doctor-backed tips to protect your brain, your health, and your independence, especially after 60. Coming up next, have you ever struggled to find the right word or said something totally wrong even though it sounded right in your head? That might not be just aging, it could be one of the clearest signs your brain is under attack. Let's talk about silent stroke sign number 3, slurred or jumbled speech, even briefly. Have you ever tried to speak and your words came out wrong? Maybe they slurred like you just woke up. Maybe your sentence twisted mid-thought. Or maybe the words just wouldn't come. You brushed it off. I'm tired. Too much coffee. But what if that brief glitch was your brain sending a distress signal? One of the earliest signs of a mini-stroke, called a transient ischemic attack, is sudden speech difficulty. It may last only 30 seconds, but that's all it takes. Mr. Ronald's story. At 71, Ronald was sharp and active. One morning, joking with his wife, his speech slurred for 15 seconds. He laughed it off. She insisted he get checked. It happened again that same afternoon. By Monday, scans revealed microclots in the speech center of his brain. Caught early, he made a full recovery. Had he waited longer, he might have lost the ability to speak. What to look for? Slurred or slowed words, saying one word but meaning another, sentences that stall or cut off, and word mix-ups or tongue slips. These aren't just getting older. They're neurological warning signs. Slurred speech is like a Wi-Fi glitch. Your brain's data isn't getting through. What to do? Write it down the first time. If it happens again, call for medical help. Don't drive. Reaction time may be impaired. And ask for a stroke workup. CT, MRI, and carotid scan. Time matters. Every second counts when your brain is under attack. If you've ever noticed brief speech trouble, don't ignore it. It might be your only warning, like if you learned something new. Subscribe for more doctor-backed brain health tips. Coming up next, not all strokes start with numbness or slurred words. Some begin with deep pressure behind your eyes or a sudden storm in your head. Let's talk about silent stroke sign number 4, sudden confusion or mental fog. You're in the middle of doing something routine, maybe balancing your checkbook, maybe using the microwave, or looking for your keys in the same drawer you've used for 10 years. But today something feels off. You freeze. You can't remember what you were just doing or how to finish the task you've done 1,000 times. You're not dizzy. You're not weak. It's like your brain has suddenly stepped into fog. This is one of the most misunderstood and most ignored warning signs of a silent stroke. Sudden confusion, disorientation, or difficulty thinking clearly. I've treated dozens of men in their 60s and 70s who came in saying things like, I just blanked out in the middle of paying bills. I knew what I wanted to say but couldn't find the words. Or I was looking at the remote and couldn't remember how to use it. They weren't tired. They weren't under stress. Their minds just glitched, and that glitch was their brain missing oxygen even for just a minute. Here's what most people don't realize. A stroke doesn't always affect the body. Sometimes it targets the way you think, especially if the affected area is in the frontal lobe or temporal lobe, regions of the brain responsible for memory, logic, and decision-making. When a clot briefly blocks blood flow there, it doesn't cause pain, it causes confusion. Just ask Mr. Calvin, 68. He told me his first incident happened at the grocery store. He was standing in front of the cereal aisle staring. He couldn't remember what brand his wife always bought. Then he couldn't remember why he was even there. He panicked, left the cart, and drove home. He brushed it off as stress. But when it happened again the next week, this time while driving, his wife brought him in. An MRI showed small ischemic changes, tiny strokes that had gone unnoticed. We got to him just in time. With lifestyle changes and medication, we prevented what could have been a catastrophic stroke. What to watch for: sudden difficulty, following a conversation, getting lost in familiar places, confusing common objects, inability to concentrate or plan simple tasks, and feeling like you're in a mental haze for no clear reason. Even if it passes within minutes, don't ignore it. Confusion isn't just a senior moment. It could be your brain flashing a red light. Your brain doesn't always scream for help. Sometimes it whispers. Mental fog, especially if it's new, sudden, or unusual, is one of the softest yet most urgent whispers it gives. Keep track of these episodes. Tell someone if they happen, and if you feel that off feeling more than once, get evaluated. If If you've ever had a strange moment of confusion or forgetfulness that didn't feel normal, comment below with a 1 to let us know you're watching for the signs, and don't forget to like this video if it's helping you or someone you care about stay informed. Next up, what if the next stroke warning didn't come in your thoughts but in a sudden surge of head pain? Let's talk about silent stroke, sign number 5. Sudden headache or pressure with no clear cause. You wake up and something's off. There's a strange pressure behind your eyes like a slow building storm. It's not a sharp pain and it's not a migraine. It just feels different. Maybe it starts as a dull ache in the back of your head or a tight band across your forehead. You think, maybe I didn't sleep well. Maybe it's the weather, so you ignore it. But what if I told you that unfamiliar pressure could be the earliest sign of a stroke brewing inside your brain? Let me be clear. Not every headache means stroke. But if you're a man over 60 and you feel a sudden strange head pressure you've never had before, you must take it seriously. When a clot starts to block a blood vessel in your brain, even temporarily, pressure begins to build. Your brain has no pain receptors, but the tissues around it do. As blood flow slows or shifts, those tissues swell slightly, and that's where the pain begins. This headache may come on suddenly, feel like intense pressure rather than sharp pain, be accompanied by slight nausea or blurry vision, or even come with no other symptoms at all. And here's the most dangerous part. Most older men dismiss it. You tell yourself, it's just a tension headache. I slept in the wrong position. I just need a coffee or a nap. But I've seen patients who made those same excuses, and hours later they were in the ER. Let me tell you about Harold, age 72. He was gardening one morning when a weird pressure crept in behind his left eye. Not pain, just discomfort. He brushed it off and kept working. That night, while brushing his teeth, he dropped his toothbrush. His left hand had gone slightly numb. Still, he didn't go to the hospital. He slept it off. The next morning, his wife found him struggling to speak, slurring words and holding his head. He'd had a minor stroke, possibly 2. We were able to stabilize him, but he still has trouble with speech and memory. And he told me later, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. Here's what to watch for. It comes on suddenly, feels unusual for you, is persistent, and doesn't improve with rest, and may be accompanied by slight nausea, light sensitivity, or fogginess. If that sounds familiar, even once, please don't ignore it. If you're over 60 and experience a new unexplained headache, especially if it feels like pressure, sit down and don't keep walking around. Drink a glass of water to help stabilize blood viscosity. Check your blood pressure if you can, and monitor for other signs such as numbness, slurred speech, or vision changes. Seek medical attention immediately if anything feels off. Your brain doesn't always give you lightning bolts. Sometimes it gives you pressure, and pressure is a warning. Don't wait for something worse to happen. The earlier we catch it, the better your recovery will be. Have you ever felt a headache that just didn't feel right? One that seemed to come out of nowhere? Tell us in the comments with a 1 if you've experienced something similar. It could help another viewer realize they're not alone. And if this video is helping you stay alert and safe, please take a second to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next critical warning we'll talk about. Up next, the 6th and final stroke warning sign is the most overlooked of all. It has nothing to do with your body and everything to do with your vision. Stay with me as we talk about silent stroke. Sign number 6, blurred, double, or lost vision, even in one eye. Have you ever stood in your own kitchen and forgotten why you walked in? Or struggled to finish a sentence? Not because you didn't know the words, but because they suddenly slipped away. Maybe it lasted just a few seconds. Maybe no one else even noticed. So you brushed it off. I'm just tired. It happens to everyone. But let me tell you something most men never hear. Even a few seconds of confusion, of struggling to understand a simple conversation, could be the last warning your brain gives you before a stroke. The area of your brain responsible for understanding language and processing thought is incredibly sensitive to changes in blood flow. When a small clot forms, or an artery narrows for just a moment, oxygen can't get where it's needed. And the first symptom is that you suddenly lose your train of thought or can't make sense of what someone just said. Doctors call these transient ischemic episodes, but I call them brain whispers. They're soft, they vanish, and they're dangerously easy to ignore. One study found that men over 60 who experienced even a single brief episode of confusion without memory loss, pain, or collapse were 7 times more likely to suffer a full-blown stroke in the next 90 days. Let that sink in. A single odd moment where your brain feels off could be your only warning. So here's what I beg you to remember. If you suddenly can't follow a conversation, forget a basic task, or feel like the world is briefly out of sync, don't chalk it up to aging. Get it checked immediately, because the next time your brain goes quiet, it might stay that way. And there you have it, 6 silent stroke signs that far too many older men miss until it's too late. Because the truth is, strokes don't always come with a dramatic collapse. Sometimes they whisper in your hand, in your speech, in your memory. Even a second of numbness, A word that won't come out? A moment of confusion? These aren't just aging, they're red flags and they matter. But here's the good news. If you spot them early, you can stop a life-changing stroke before it happens. So please don't ignore these signs. Don't wait until the damage is done. Talk to your doctor, get checked, and start protecting your brain today. If this video helped you, share it with a father, a brother, or a friend over 60 because it might just save their life. And if you want more doctor-backed tips for protecting your brain, your heart, and your independence, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next video. Let us know in the comments. Have you experienced any of these silent signs? Your story could help someone else catch it in time. Take care of your brain, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next video.